Welcome to day 252, 300 movie challenge. Today we watched the highest grossing film of May 2015, which was The Avengers Age of Ultron.
Well, I've I'm the one who hasn't seen this again.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
and I knew that this one was like people were more mixed on it compared to the first one.
Mm.
But that's kind of all I knew. I didn't really know anything about like why or even like what really happens. I mean, obviously I know there's some dude slash thing called Ultron that's probably the bad guy, but like I didn't know like what happens or anything like that.
Right.
Um, and I guess my overall opinion is that I do like it, but it is like kind of a step down from like the others, basically.
Yeah,
Yeah.
basically.
From what I remembered of the film, because me and Maya actually watched it together and stuff, um, I remember liking it too, but also,
Feeling kind of weird about some things.
yeah, and I didn't actually remember a lot of the things in this movie
Mm.
until, like, there were parts that I remembered, like, of course, the city. Like, the whole ending I remembered, but I couldn't remember much of the beginning, so I was kind of lost. I
Hmm.
was like, wait, I don't remember any of this.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, the plot is. I don't really know what it is. Like, it's not paced bad, and it's not like a bad story, but for some reason it's like,
It just feels kind of odd.
yeah, and I don't know why.
I guess the general gist of the story is that, they managed to get Loki's staff, but, Stark decides that he wants to try and basically program his robots with the sentient being within the staff and everything.
Yeah,
So,
well, I get. Okay. Again, it's like I understand what happens, but for some reason, it's like there's like some sort of disconnect there.
no, I agree with
Again,
that.
but I'm not really sure what the causes that. So,
I can't really describe it either, at least from like that standpoint with
mhm.
just the plot. It's just if I feel like maybe either something is missing or something wasn't explained very
Yeah. Well,
well.
okay. One thing that actually I didn't realize this until like near the very end of the movie, but then I was like, wait a minute. When did Tony Stark get the Iron Man suit back?
What do you mean?
Oh, wait.
Remember
Oh
at
yeah,
the end of
because
Iron Man 3, he just like was like fuck it and then just like stopped and it's like wait, now he's like totally back into it for like and he seems like totally fine and it's like wait a minute. You think they
uh,
would have addressed this in some way because he wasn't in, any of the movies since then. I mean, we saw all of the other Marvel movies between Iron Man 3 and this except for Thor Dark World, but he's not in that. So I just like wait a minute. Huh? Like, I guess it's not that weird that he would, like, decide, oh, I actually want to keep doing this, but you'd think that at least, like, for, like, a minute kind of say that.
Hmm.
So, that was a little weird. But,
yeah, I
oh,
was kind of wondering if there was an explanation for that since I remembered um yeah, in Iron Man 3 he blew up his suits and then I was like, "Oh yeah, okay, there are a couple of movies in between. Maybe it explains that
no.
he was like, "Nah, I'm kind of bored. I'm going to make an Iron Man suit again."
Yeah, but
But
no,
I guess it
he's,
was never explained.
nope, he's
Yeah,
not
that's
in Thor Dark World, he's not in Winter Soldier, he's not in Guardians of the Galaxy, so, I don't know. Again, it's, like, not super strange. It kind of makes sense he would go back to doing it. It's just it feels like they should have shown that.
Yeah.
So, Yeah, oh, then the other thing that I was kind of confused about was that the first Avengers made it seem like uh that Bruce Banner like figured out how to control the Hulk.
yeah.
But then here it's like he kind of doesn't still. So I'm like
Yes.
not total, but then he like
I,
does at the end, but I'm kind of like not sure how that works.
I guess, well, the thing is that the one time that he went kind of insane in the city and stuff in Africa was because girl kind of messed up with his mind, but otherwise he seems to have a good control over it.
I guess.
Because otherwise, the thing is that he can turn it on, but he has trouble turning it off, which is where Romanov comes in. But
Okay,
that one
makes more
time
sense.
he went on a rampage was not really his doing, per se.
Mhm.
Right, it was Scarlet Witch who did that.
Yeah.
Which I'm not 100% sure how I feel about her yet, but I assume she'll be relevant in the future. So, okay, actually, her and also the whole Vision thing, especially with Vision, I feel like he's again, we haven't seen that much of him, so of course this can change, but I feel like he's too good.
Yeah.
He seems like he could just do anything.
I feel the most mixed about him.
Yeah.
I don't
I
mind.
actually kind of, I kind of like Scarlet Witch to some degree. So
Yeah, again, she is a kind of a similar situation just because of the whole psychokinesis thing. Is it's just inherently pretty strong. But I guess the idea with her is that she's not super emotionally grounded, so that could be an issue with that. So that's fine. But especially for Vision, he just seems like he could just kind of do anything, and it's
he's just Jesus.
Yeah, and I don't mind the idea of what they did character wise with Jarvis into that, so that's fine. I just feel like he seems way too strong right now. I mean, he literally has an Infinity Stone buried in his head, so I don't know how that works. I mean, also, considering we know that Thanos ends up getting all that, makes you wonder how this is going to turn out. So
yeah.
You just gonna rip it out of his face?
I hope not.
Well, I guess that'll be a situation where it's we thought he was Jesus, guess not. But yeah, I don't know. So hopefully we see at least a bit more and kind of maybe learn a bit more, and maybe it makes a bit more sense. But yeah, I'm not negative. I'm really not negative on that many things on this movie. It's just some things I'm just kind of not sure. I'm just kind of so.
I feel like for me, the strongest part of this movie was actually the latter part of the movie.
Yeah.
When they were saving the people and fighting within the city and stuff. I think that was probably the strongest part of the movie. Or rather, it kind of started when they were at Hawkeye's house, and then from there on, it was kind of
the teamwork part
the
of it.
stronger part of the movie.
Yeah, well,
me.
actually, because again, in the first movie, they had some conflicts with each other, but it made sense, and then they kind of resolved it. So here they just kind of kept going, where it's okay, they're not. I mean, there's a bit of conflict, but it's much more they they banter with each other and have these kind of jokes with each other, and I like that dialogue. I like their interactions with each other in this.
Yeah,
and,
especially with Thor's hammer.
Yeah, so that was a really good scene, right? That's something that you think that's what they would do if they're just bored, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I like stuff like that. The one thing that does kind of bother me, and it's not that bad here, because I've seen much worse examples of it, but when they first fight Ultron and he just wrecks them or whatever, and then they end up going to Hawkeye's house and they're kind of not quite moping, but they're kind of well, we messed up, we suck, hey, right? And it's I kind of feel that that was a bit too of an extreme of a reaction. I'm I don't know, I think part of it is just that I don't really buy that Ultron is this mega insane amazing dude that nobody can stop, considering they stopped literal aliens the last time. I feel it's a little bit of a step down, but they're treating it like a step up, and that's a little bit of a disconnect for me. So that's kind of
right.
Again, for example, the comparison that I make to this is what I would say is the worst episode of the Justice League show, which is where they basically get into the Justice League gets into a fight with another group of supervillains, and they end up losing, partly because there is a thing where one of the guys, the villains, is kind of does a similar thing with Scarlet Witch, but it's instead of giving them visions, instead it amplifies their negative emotions with each other. So they end up getting kind of pissed at each other, and they're all you're screwing this up or whatever, and it kind of makes sense, and they kind of have this falling out that maybe we don't work well as a team, but it kind of feels forced in a sense of now they're just gonna bicker, and when of course they're gonna come back together later, right? So it's not quite, and again, I don't even think it's that bad. It's just kind of because almost every other episode, and that show's like amazing. So it is like the low point for me, even though I'd say overall it's probably just like kind of a episode. Where this is not quite that bad because there isn't, again, like they're not like nasty to each other. So yeah, but I don't know. So this is like it felt like it kind of like the pacing in the first like third or to half is a little weird. It's not like Iron Man 3 bad, but it's like it's a little weird.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the reason why. But yeah, kind of once they kind of come together, like once like Nick Fury shows up, and then kind of going from there, I think it works better. But
Yeah.
the only thing I can think of is Ultron himself.
Doesn't really do that much.
Yeah, like okay, I kind of
Yeah.
the personality of him is kind of neat. Yeah, like it's a little bit kind of, you know, snarky-ish, but like not quite, and like I don't know. So it's a little bit. So I'm kind of interested in that, but again, like what he does, and also just the fact that like this is the big bad villain. Ooh, so scary, right? You know, again, I don't really quite buy into that. And in terms of like what he's trying to do, it's kind of like, oh, we've seen this a lot where it's like, you know, oh, the robot thinks like killing everyone is like how to save people, and it's like, you know, we saw that in like fucking Eagle Eye.
Yeah.
So
Apparently.
yeah, so again, I don't think he's like bad, but he's just kind of And I've heard, you know, everyone says that like the biggest problem with the MCU is that the villains aren't very good, and until Phase 3. So, well, we're starting that. Well, okay, there's Ant-Man first, but well, why did they do that? Why is like Ant-Man like after this, but they still say it's like Phase 2? Like whatever, I don't care.
I don't know. Just ignore it. It's fine.
Yeah. I was going to say though, we get a reference to a movie that will be coming out in 2 years' time in this movie, which I did not pick up on the first time I watched it because obviously when we first watched it, it was in theaters, so
Oh yeah, that's
it
true.
just flew over our minds at the time. But now watching it and knowing that a certain movie like came out and everything, I'm like, oh my god, they actually referenced it.
Well, I mean, it's more than just a reference. I mean, I'll just say it. It's the connections with Black Panther are like, I don't know. That's actually kind of interesting because it's actually pretty decent connections. Like the whole vibranium stuff, and then also like I forgot the character's name, but the guy who's played by Andy Serkis. I was like, oh, because I've actually Black Panther is the one Marvel movie I've seen before this, so I was like, oh, interesting, because I saw him and I'm like, wait a minute. That looks like the same guy, and then, like, it is the same guy. Okay, interesting. Like, I just didn't expect to have, like, you know, such a strong connection to something that, you know, I mean, from in terms of the movies, hadn't been shown at all to this point, and again, isn't shown really at all for a while. I mean, I believe T'Challa's in Civil War, but, like, that's, you know, I don't think he's not, like, a huge focus. So, yeah, it's interesting. But yeah, I see this as like, you know how we said that like for Furious 7 we were like, this is kind of just like a standard like kind of who cares like kind of bad action movie.
Mm-hmm.
This I see as more as like kind of like a standard good action movie.
Yeah.
Like it's not great. Like I would say the first one was I think almost everyone says the first Avengers was better. But I don't think this is bad. And again, the stuff that I do think is like negatives are not like big negatives. They're just kind of like and then. You know, but I wouldn't say the only thing that there's anything that's like, oh, there's something that's so amazing or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'd heard this. Maybe if like if I had no context and I was really thinking of like, oh man, I can't wait to see like what they go do after like the first Avengers movie. Maybe I would be like a bit disappointed. But since I kind of came into this knowing that most people think this isn't as good, so I was kind of, I don't know. I wasn't disappointed. I just thought like, oh, okay. If anything, I feel like I've heard some people like say that they like this, like, you know, like legitimately like don't like it, and I'm just like, yeah, okay. So if anything, maybe it's a little bit better than I thought it would be, but I don't know. So whatever. I don't say it's a waste of time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you're continuing with the MCU, you kind of have to watch it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Continuity and all that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The only everything. Well, and also they touched upon the stuff that happened in Winter Soldier with like Shield, you know.
Yep.
Oh
Getting
yeah.
kablooey.
Now I understand that too.
Yeah, so that was the thing where it was like, oh, okay. So, I don't know, it's interesting seeing the connections with stuff. But yeah, so I guess that's that.
We're going to another series.
Another $1 billion+ movie.
Yep.
Oh yeah, this is another series that we have actually watched things in this series, though it was a bit of a different scenario before.
Yeah.
So I don't know I don't know how to like mentally what to think going into this. Because
I've already kind of written it off in my head,
I've
hopefully I'm wrong.
I've heard various things, but at the same time, again, given like the context and the previous movies we've seen in the series and some other stuff, I'm really like not sure what I should think, but
Yeah.
it probably won't be completely horrible. So
Hope
it's
not.
The effects will be good.
yeah.
At least.
I mean, I'm thinking at worst this will be like Furious 7, where it's just kind of generic, like
Right,
whatever,
yeah.
you know. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. I mean, hopefully it's not worse than that. But again, I heard some people like do like legitimately like this next thing like quite a lot. So shrug. But anyway,
I guess we'll see.
we'll see into the third $1 billion movie in a row. Ooh.
Whoa.
To get to the one that we're least looking
Oh,
forward
God.
to.
Ew.
It's
Not. Yeah. I don't want to. Why?
Arf.
uh,
Well, time to do that. We're still, it's been like 250 movies and we're still bad at like knowing like how to actually wrap things up in a way that like works.
It's okay. We don't need to have proper outros. It's fine.
Okay, well, bye.
Bye.